what your role is in this setting.
I'm going to guide you through the room.
Okay, so after you've introduced yourself and explained what your role is, and in the kind of context that I'm talking, normally you're a curator or maybe a front of house assistant or possibly a describer, and then you make an offer. So would you like to take my arm?
Would you like to take my arm?
Right, so the blind person will choose whether or not they take your arm. They can say no, but then our exercise falls flat. So hopefully you agree to do it, and you might have a preference. So you might not want to take someone's arm. If there's a height differential, you might want to put your arm on their shoulder. So if Heather was about a foot taller, she might choose to put her hand on Zoe's shoulder, that's it. But the important thing is that the blind person makes the decision. And the other thing to say is that obviously you're not pretending to be a blind person. This won't give you an experience of what it's like to be blind, but it will give you an experience of what it's like to be deprived of visual information. So let's have a little bit more direct information about what we've got to encounter in this room are some steps. So what kind of information do you think, Heather, you would need to know about the steps?
How big they are, how many there are, and where they are.
Yeah, how big they are, maybe. I mean,
How many they are.
How many?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Where they are, this side or that side or...
there's another important topic about steps. Gert.
Whether they're going up or down.
Yeah, whether they're going up or down. Because if you don't prepare yourself for going down and suddenly you find you're going up, you fall over. So that's the really important thing to know about steps is you can say we're coming up to a staircase, you don't have to count the steps. Because actually once you're on the staircase, you will carry on climbing the steps until they run out. So you need to be aware that when we're on the first step and when we get to the last step. And offer the option of a handrail, because often a person prefers to use a handrail themselves. And the handrail, if it goes all the way to the top, will give you information about the height of the slope. So again, you don't need so much information about how big the steps are, because that can offer you information. But don't try and reach the handrail on the left on this set of stairs, because there isn't one. And just look out for any kind of dangers. So sometimes handrails don't go all the way to the top. Sometimes they break halfway through. Sometimes they're not very comfortable to use. The one outside with the stair lift is very difficult because it's got teeth in it to allow the stair lift to climb it. So just look out for all the dangers that might be coming up, that your sight enables you to see, and without sight you don't know it's arriving. And then one other thing I'll ask you to do is to allow the blind person to sit down at the end. So Zoe, what kind of things do you think you might need to say about the seat?
That you need to pull out the chair.
Yeah,
So
that it's a
so
flip-up
sit down.
seat, absolutely. Don't just let a blind person get to the seat, feel the arms and then try and sit down, because they'll just fall on the floor. So don't do that.
And there's an armrest.
Yeah, the fact that there are armrests, that's great, because that can be uncomfortable too.
And if it's high or low maybe, or the...
Yeah, one of the very useful ways is if you take someone towards the seat, and then, so she'll come with you automatically because you've offered to guide her. She's agreed, and her hand is on your arm. So if you move off, she's not coming with you, they'll break contact. So now if you use the hand that has her arm attached, if you put your hand on the back of the chair, her arm will come with you. And then she can locate the seat herself. So you've told her it tips up. Look, there we are. She can do it perfectly easily. So you don't need to give too much information, because a blind person is perfectly used to walking around. Heather won't be that used to walking around with her eyes shut, but she can probably get to her bathroom at night with no lights on. So we have some experience of that already. But just make sure you point out the danger things, like whether or not the table is already across or whether or not there's already somebody sitting in the seat. So you wouldn't want to take her to a boneless seat and put her hand on the back of the chair. I mean, the information she needs to know there is whether or not the seat is already occupied or free. And one other thing I'll talk about is doors. If you're going through doors are a pain, but luckily Heather has no cane, no dog, no bag, nothing extra. So when you get to a door, so why don't you walk her towards the door? And I'll explain a bit more. So you can relax your arm, so you don't have to hold it clamped. And if you, yes, you need to move her over. You can be quite, you can say, I need to move you over because there's not room for me to squeeze between the chairs on this right-hand side. That's great. And if you take your arm behind your back, Zoe, she will automatically tuck behind you. So you can get through a narrower space. And I can't see from here which side the hinge is on.
It's on the right.
Okay, so you see the door's opening towards us or away from us. And the hinge is on my side or your side. If it's on Heather's side, you get her to take the weight of the door, if she seems competent. Okay.
And the door is opening out in front of us.
So you can take her through and then bring her back, please. Okay, so look out for things at shin height or below the knee.
Sorry, I'm not very good.
And the other thing is that most blind people are used to being guided and are much better. So you might have to point out more than you would for a real blind person. Okay, so there's a quick demo and now it's over to you guys. So find a partner. And while you're moving around the building, you're going to go, make sure you go through a door and up or down a set of steps. They don't have to be very long. And come back here, find a seat and sit down. And then we'll discuss how it was for you. So when you're guiding, think about all the things you need to say and when you need to be quiet. When you're being guided, think about the things that you know, the things that you don't know, the things you wished your partner had told you. And we'll count the number of bruises, a quality indicator of how well they've done the task. So hopefully no one will be injured in making us this task.
They're quite wide here, and another. Okay. Just wait a minute, we have people in front of us.
This really makes me want to open my eyes. It's kind of like being nervous. I adjust my glasses. It's really fun because...
So come closer to me because we're coming past the camera and tripod.
This is fine.
Okay, another step.
Oops. Okay.
And then straight ahead, and then you'll feel the run up at the end of the step.
Hi. Shall I go in front? Right. Okay, so I'll hold you like this. So you can take a small step forward and a step down. Down, yeah. And a step down now.
Ara pujarem un altre graó i el mirem i no tira la càmera per terra. Un graó. Un altre.
Iza, Przemek, ruszacie? A, po prostu. Musicie sobie poprowadzać się.
I am very objective. It's very inconvenient places at the very top.
I'm going to keep feet up to come to you. It's a tip up. So you just go to that. Not that one. Come towards me.
Not that one, that one. Oh,
There's a blind person coming.
this was very deep.
Oh yes, okay. Completely lost the sense of direction. I didn't know where we.
Walking past the different rows of chairs.
A Zuzka jest? Dobra? Od zawsze. A nie, Zuza była od zawsze, no tak. Myślałem, że... Yeah. You know that dog that absorbs? That one is not so much light. Because it's not right. For example, we are coming downstairs to get to walk on the street, and the lights are off. He goes, you want to know the path. And he doesn't do it when the lights are off.
But today I'm hoping Agnieszka can be the sheepdog. Thank you. So as people were coming back, they were telling me that there are different guiding techniques in different countries, which I accept, and that's fine. And that some people like to take the elbow rather than the arm, and the shoulder seems quite common. I think the useful thing about the arm is that you can then do the other bits, like helping people locate handrails or locate the backs of the seat. And the arm comes naturally, their hand comes naturally as you move your arm towards that part. But I'm sure there are advantages and disadvantages of all the techniques, or you might need to vary the technique depending on the preferences of the blind person, especially which side you guide on. I mean, often blind people have multiple disabilities, often they're elderly and they might have hearing loss in one ear and therefore prefer to stand on the opposite side of you than your preference. So just let them choose. Great, and I would like to say that it feeds in often to the description of a room, which Aline did at the beginning. Because when you go through a door and you're in a new space, it can be really helpful to give just a very brief description of the lecture hall and where the seats are in relation to the door and roughly how much space you have to cover. But I'd like to know from you, first of all from the people who were doing the guiding, well, which was all of you, I hope, everybody had a chance to swap, what information was important to give to the person you were guiding? Did you hear? So I'd like to know what information you had to give. Gert has an opinion. Shaq, tell me what you think.
Well, I thought I was doing pretty well until my partner said, are there any more steps? I forgot to tell him there were no more steps. So he reached the bottom and he said, are there any more steps? I said, actually no, there's not, he just walked forward now.
Okay, well that's good. At least you're keeping up our dialogue, that's really important. And he felt comfortable about asking you,
Yeah.
and you'll remember next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not getting distracted, not chatting and forget to tell him where you're
Do you want to say that in the microphone?
Not getting distracted and chatting and then forgetting to tell them where to go. So keeping a balance between conversation and being friendly and giving them some actual information because we're not distracted.
Okay, so yeah, keep your mind on the job. That's why you shouldn't distract guide dogs, because they're working like that.
Yeah, it's funny because we were not talking about anything else.
Okay.
Instructions all the time. And a curious thing that happened to us, we did it both. We did one way guiding me, and another way guiding her. And in one of the moments, we had 5 steps up, and we did exactly the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the 6th one as well. I don't know if
I mean, we did give the information to each other. Like
Okay.
there are 5
We did.
steps, but then
But
with the eyes closed, you felt like keep going.
you keep going and you do the same gesture as if you were, there was a 6th
Mm.
step.
Yes, even though you knew. Okay, so how was it being guided?
Nice.
Was it?
It was nice, but one thing, because one of the problems that seems to be reoccurring are those steps. One additional difficulty is the width of the steps, because we went outside when they were very narrow, but to get down here they're very wide, so you have to tell them that they have to take 1 or 2 steps to reach the next
Yeah.
step. That was
These
important.
these steps in particular are very
Yeah,
deep.
yeah. So that was what we found.
Yeah, I think
Was
that's
information that was needed.
yeah. So the depth of the step more than the height. Shaq has another comment. Can I? Sorry.
Being guided, I actually found it quite unsettling. Even in those 2 or 3 minutes, like I looked around the room and thought, yeah, this is quite an easy layout. I know what it looks like, but when you close your eyes, yeah, I was actually shocked, even in those 2 minutes, how cautious you have to be. Actually, I took it for granted. I think.
Yeah, I think we do take sight for granted, and when you're not able to just check what's going on, you have to verbalise much more. So, who else wants to talk about their experience when they were being guided? Anna, did you have a? Okay.
No, another challenge was there because there was a cable on the floor, so it was a danger that the person being guided could fall down. So I had to unplug it. But then it was very narrow for our 2 wonderful bodies. So I had to move.
Your guidee is looking shocked.
Well, at least my wonderful body. So it was a bit challenging, to move the person. So I unplugged it. Then I had to move Pilar in and then plug it again. So it was a bit easy, yeah.
But I have to say that the experience was very good. She's a fantastic guider, and I wasn't stressed, and I did it very well and very easily. So thank you, Anna.
Great. It's also a nice activity, this, at the beginning of a course, because people get to know each other really well from guiding. Does anybody else have a comment they want to make about either guiding or being guided? Gian Maria, can you hang on? A microphone is on its way to you.
When I was guiding Kate, I forgot to tell her that okay, now you can see it. That I forgot to tell her that is a bench, not so she, when trying to understand the shape of the, and she spent a couple of minutes trying to learn the shape instead of just sitting. It's not a chair, it's a bench. Probably, I don't know, would have been important.
I think it's good to be able to come up with the terminology, but you realise from your mistakes and you learn from your mistakes. So if you could all guide perfectly instantly, there's been no point having any kind of course, or any kind of exercise. So I think it's all information to take on board. And when you're describing a place remotely, think about what you needed to know when you're being guided yourself, or when you found that your companion couldn't make sense of what you were telling them, and then try to factor that in when you're either describing a space or when you're giving directions in a museum. You might give orientation information of how to get from one room to the next, or from one exhibit to another. Think about what you needed to know when you were being guided, or what you wanted to know and weren't told. Anyway, that's great. So there's some notes on guiding which I think have been passed around, and these come from the Audio Description Association in the UK, so many thanks to them for releasing their materials. And also in your bumper pack, I think, are more evaluation forms, and they're for all of the tasks. And that's not really fair, because some of the tasks you didn't actually get to do, and I wasn't wasn't aware of that when I was preparing the information sheets. So fill in the evaluation of the tasks that you did do, so the guiding and Shaq's task specifically, and then if you have any other comment to make about the other tasks, please add that to your evaluation form. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Louise. Thank you.